Hate to interrupt this awesome song. Good old Mario music. But here I go. So today I'm going to continue where I left off yesterday. Gluing. Let's see. Can zoom in a little bit more here. Gluing these. This is called the mull. This loose weave mesh stuff, and the linen tapes. I don't actually know if they're made out of linen. At one time in history, you would use linen materials, and supposedly these are linen, but you know, these days buzzwords, marketing words don't always mean what it's actually made out of, so it's hard to say. But anyway, they're supposed to be linen. And they don't have to be, it's just that's what they've traditionally been made out of, and linen is a very strong, high quality material. So, yep. Anyway, I'm going to glue all that down to the side just as I did on this side. So this side I have a stack of 12 books here. They're all dried on that one side. So I'm going to do the other side. But before I do that, I'm going to pull out the 14 books that are in book presses, and the spines were drying for a couple days. They didn't need that long, but that's just how long they've been sitting there. So those are ready to pull out and add to this stack of 12, so I'll have 26 total that I can glue the sides on. I kind of doubt I'll do all those today, but we'll just see how many I feel like doing, I guess. Yeah, so here we go. Without further ado, no matter what I do, speaking of ado, I think when I was adjusting my camera, I was pushing it the wrong direction. That's why. Okay, I think if I do it this way, yeah, that's why. No wonder. I was trying to get it so my subject is more over to the right so that my fat head doesn't cover it up, and I think I moved it like the opposite direction in the last stream. But anyway, so first thing, I just pull off this tape. I'm amazed at how strong this tape is. It's meant to be removable, and it is, but it really holds well. Probably that blue masking painter's tape would work fine too. It's like different colors. I don't know what the colors mean, but blue seems to be the famous one, I guess. I think the colors... Yeah, I'm not even going to venture, I guess, what the colors mean. I've used them before because I've done painting before, but I have no idea why they're... Yeah, I think there's like a blue and a green and whatever. Who cares? Not my specialty. But anyway, that tape would probably work pretty well for this too, because it's also removable. Need like a place to stack these book presses once they're empty. I think they'll stack... No, actually, they would stack really well, except for the very bottom one having these bulbous knobs on them. Almost makes me want to put like little... Man, I could really over-engineer these things, but I could put these little blocks here so that they can stand better. I don't know, it's tempting to do that kind of stuff because it would really improve the usability of everything if I detailed it all out with all the modifications that make it perfect for the use that for what I use them for. So in other words, I could put, as my popsicle sticks have been standard demo tool, I could put like a block here. Of course, it would only be the width of the board here. Cut it off there, and then these would stick out further than the bolts would, and then I could stand them on these two at the ends. I might actually do that. A lot of work. And then there's the question of how do I attach those? I'd have to get little screws, and then I'd have to countersink the screws. It's just like, is it really worth all that? I don't know. Probably not. But we'll see. That might solve some other issues, though. I'm not sure. But if it would make them more stackable, that probably is worth doing. Actually, like, I'm in the process of brainstorming a solution for these book presses so that they can stand up. Like they can stand up currently like this, but when I have the book in there, and I mean stand up vertically, when I have the book in there, the book is sticking out on the bottom, so I can't stand them up anymore. So I want legs on there so that I can just stand them up like higher than the book is hanging down. And previously in my streams, I had been talking about 2 legs on the sides, or 4, because, yeah, 4 legs. So on either side you would have these, like, imagine this is a solid stick, not these popsicle sticks. This would hinge out, so it would go like that and stop there. That would be the leg. There'd be one on either side, and then there's 4 because you'd need 2 on either board so that it would stand up. And that's where I was going with that, but now, just because, you just try random stuff. You see random stuff and it sparks an idea. So when I put this on there to work as the stand, it made me realize, man, is it just as simple as having this inside of a slider thing? So here's my leg here. Or even simpler yet, I could just install a permanent leg on there. Is there any reason not to do that? Maybe not. Maybe I could just permanently install the legs like right here. Have them as long as they need to be. Why not? Why do they need to move, right? They don't need to hinge out. They don't need to slide. They could just be permanently stuck on there and sticking out like that. I actually can't think of any reason why not to do that. Maybe that's what I'll do. And then that would solve 2 problems. This would be farther out than the bolt, so I could lay it on this surface here, just stack them. And it would also give me the legs that I've been talking about. So, that's so much simpler. See, I ordered some screws, some really small screws that I was going to use for the hinges, but maybe I could just use those screws to attach this to the boards, depending on how deep they are. They might not be deep enough, and they're really small. I can't remember. I'd have to look up I ordered on eBay or something. Seems like they're only like a centimeter long, or maybe even less. So that probably wouldn't be long enough unless these legs are really thin. Yeah, I might just go to like local hardware store and get some different screws for this purpose. And I think I can still make use for those little screws that I ordered. But now I'm definitely changing my mind about this, I think. Definitely, I think. That's pretty convincing, eh? I like the idea of these being permanently on there. They don't need to be hinged. The only thing that maybe could be hinged is I could have a secondary... I know I'm rambling, but this is a live stream. This is what live streams are. This isn't a polished, edited YouTube video or something, so... I'm thinking about that also, though, now that I'm interrupting myself. I've been wondering, like, maybe in the future, if my channel ever grows, I have 1 follower right now. I don't really see it going big time or anything, but that might be something that would cause it to grow or give people something more useful to watch. Rather than these, like, full, long play live streams only, I could produce some edited content on, you know, just specifically, or specific tasks in bookbinding or whatever other content I do, you know, edit it down to be just a couple minutes each or 10 minutes at the most, going through different steps of bookbinding or whatever. And I've thought about doing that before, almost like tutorial things, or at least describing how I do it. I may do that in the future. Anyway, just rambling. So the idea then for this would be, if I use the hinges, I could have these legs out there and then have a shorter version of the legs that stops here. Maybe it's only like 1 inch. And that one hinges out this way. And then it could be a more stable footing. Kind of liking that. It could even, so imagine there's going to be 4 legs on here. And I can't have the footing going across this way always be there, because this has to be able to move in and out. Although I guess it could slide along the bottom of the other one. But I don't think I want it there. I want this to be able to stack. But I could have it here and then just have it hinge out like this. And then it would also hit the ones that are on this side. I don't know if I like that though. And the other benefit to having these on the outside of the boards is they're a little farther apart, which gives the stability of this foundation like a wider stance. So these would stand up more sturdy, wouldn't tip to side to side as easily. My original design was having them hinge out from these boards, which would be a little bit closer in. So anyway, just thinking out loud, I might actually go that route. It depends on how long they need to be. It would be kind of obnoxious to have these sticking out too far. The other option is to have a hinge, a different kind of hinge, like just a single screw here where they can rotate around and they would lock in this position somehow. Let me rotate around this way when I want to use them, something like that. That's another option. I don't know, there's so many different ways to build things. Kind of fun to think about the different options though. I don't know how to make a screw that has a... I guess some screws have like the very top of the screw has no thread on it, and that could be the hinge that these rotate around possibly. So that's a possibility. I don't know if I would... They would have to have a way to lock in place, because if they could just rotate around, this whole thing could slip off, and I don't know, then it gets complicated. How could I keep that in position? I mean, if I could do like 3D printing or like metal pieces and different, you know, you could fabricate little springs. You could have like a pull, a little knob that you pull up and has a spring-loaded action, and it slips into little holes that you drill here, so it could knock, you know, pull down with spring action. When it gets to this spot, you pull it up and then rotate this around, and it has another hole here that it sinks into with the spring action. But I don't know how to make anything like that. I've never built stuff out of metal or parts like that. You might be able to buy something like that. I would have no idea what to search for. Anyway, this is way off topic, but I don't care. Doesn't matter. All that to say, I was just going to stack this somewhere, but see how tilty this is, so I can't like easily stack a second one on top of this and layer them without them falling over. So that would solve it if I built that thing I'm talking about. Which I probably will. I just need to come up with the best variety. I don't want to like build it and then later come up with a better design and then wish I had built that. So it's better to brainstorm before you build. Give it, be a little bit patient. Or in my case, I was actually gonna build these. I was going to build these, but I was waiting for those screws to arrive that I ordered on eBay. But that's kind of good. That delay caused me to think about other ideas, and I probably will do something different. Okay, back to what I was doing though. I'm going to just pull these out of the presses. I'm going to take a quick allergy break. I'll be back in a minute. I really got a late start today. It's like 4 a.m. already. Usually start around maybe like in between 10 and midnight. And go till, go for a couple hours, but I don't think I'm working tomorrow, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm a night owl, so I tend to have pretty weird messed up hours. I also live in a basement, so my sense of when I'm supposed to sleep is kind of messed up. Dark down here. Let's see, I need to keep this attached to the book. It's lost all its stick. I guess I can use one of these. About this for a minute here. Well, I have 2 of these. So I had the legs sticking out with that. I don't think that would keep it from stacking. So the idea is I'd have a couple stacked together. Probably this one would be on the bottom, or I could actually do this kind of a pattern, 2 on the bottom, then 2 here. Just alternate back and forth. And if they had those legs on the bottom, they wouldn't tilt like this. Legs are coming out this way on that one and that way on that one, so they could still be together. So yeah, just checking my theory to see if there's any con to having the legs if they get in the way, but I think they would stack just fine. That's probably what I'll do, is permanently attach the legs. They may or may not have a hinge action. It would be easier not to. I don't want to over-engineer them to the point where they're a nuisance. However, if I had them disassembled where the bolts, the nuts and bolts were out, and I just had the boards, the slats, I guess another word for them, they would take up less space and stack even better if they did not have those legs sticking out. So if the legs could rotate around into this position, that might give them a little bit more flexibility when they're disassembled. So that's something worth thinking about. Like if I wanted to put them in a box or something, like pack them up, take them somewhere, it would be a little bit more compact if I could make the legs either detachable or compactable. I mean, if there are screws, I could just unscrew them, but it's not good to unscrew things often, because then the screws lose their strength over time. Threads in the wood weakens, and they don't hold as strong, so it's probably not a good idea. I bet there's like there's got to be a spring-loaded little knob thing out there. If I could think of some product that those are on already, then I could maybe come up with a name by reverse searching that product. Maybe like a spring-loaded knob or something like that. I'll do some searching, and it would have to be very cheap. Like each knob would have to be like no more than 25 cents or 50 cents, because I would need 1, 2, 3, at least 4 of them per press, and I don't want to be spending like a few dollars for each of these, because I have like 30 or I don't know, maybe I have 20 of these at least. 15, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, I have at least 25 presses, so, you know, that would multiply out to pretty expensive. If there's only $1 for the knobs for each of these, then that'd be $25. I guess I could probably justify that, but I wouldn't want it to be any more than that. You know the name. That's kind of the magic of looking for parts for things. Like if you're trying to manufacture something yourself or put something together, knowing the official name of something is very key. Because just searching on eBay or some other site for something without knowing what its official name is really difficult. I would try spring knob, I guess. Pull knob, spring loaded, I don't know. And if that didn't come up with anything, then, or maybe like paging down really far, I'd find something and then it would have some other search terms in the listing that I could use. That's usually how I kind of do it. But there's probably an official name for that kind of part. If I knew what that name was, I could find it right away. So here's how these stack currently. They probably don't stack too bad, even though they have this tiltiness. Once I put two other ones on top of them, that probably kind of forces those into position. So maybe it's not actually that bad. But I still need the legs on there anyway. Yeah, those stabilizes. Unfortunately, because these bolts are so long, I can't put the next set where I put those ones. Might have to put one in the middle here, and that still wouldn't be high enough. Maybe if these are in the middle, I can put two on the outside, possibly. Get some complicated stacking strategies going on there. Just kind of showing my process though. It's fun to, invent things, and the only way to come up with an idea for an invention is just kind of brainstorm and fiddle with things like that. I'm not an inventor per se. I just enjoy making my own jigs and tools for my hobby. So if you find yourself wasting a lot of time on a certain step in your process, sometimes there's a tool that you can dream up that'll make it easier. Never thought taking these books out would take so long, but it's because I'm getting distracted with all these ideas. Oh, so I mentioned at the end of my last stream that I was going to try to publish the stream without re-uploading it at 720p, because I stream at 1080p. And every time I had tried to just finalize the stream and keep it as a permanent replay, it didn't work, and my wild guess was that it had something to do with the quality being too high for library or Odysee or whatever, the protocol wanting it to be 720p or something, or a certain bitrate, or I don't know. Anyway, I did that. I just finalized it without re-uploading. So my previous stream before this one today it actually succeeded. So it is on the library blockchain at 1080p successfully, and it's over 2 hours long. So that's cool. I don't know if that's going to work every time, because like I said, When I tried that previously, it had some kind of error message. And I don't know why, other than just guessing the reason. So I'll try that again today, and if it keeps working, then great. That'd be awesome. Saves a lot of time, 'cause it takes like an hour or two to re-encode the whole thing. Maybe not an hour, but maybe like half hour, 40 minutes, and that's a long time to... I mean, I don't just sit at my computer while it's doing that, but like if I stream late at night like this, I usually want to go to bed after I'm done. And so... But I don't want to like... Basically, like the time while I'm sleeping is productive time for the computer to be working on some process, but if it only takes, say, 40 minutes, then the time that I'm sleeping is not used after that. You know, I can't upload that. I'm re-encoding the 720p, whatever, and then I want to upload that while I'm sleeping also, so it's like I can't really go to sleep if I want to do that, so... Usually I delay my going to sleep like 40 minutes while it's doing the encoding, and then I start the upload. And so yeah, kind of lose sleep over it. So not having to do that is pretty nice. I could just do it the next day, but then it would compile, like, you know, it's nice to get the stream finalized the same day that I do it, so I don't have a task that I have to do the next day. Okay, so I think I have enough here to test my stacking method here. This is an even thinner one. Two different thicknesses of slats that I cut, because this is the leftover. These are the ones that I measured, and then the leftover was these shorter ones. So, I can stack 3, possibly even 4, but probably just 3. But the theory I wanted to try was, where can I put the next layer when all these bolts are in my way? This one probably won't fit in here. No, it does. Okay. But I still am not high enough to get over the top of these. I probably can only have 2 per layer. Otherwise there's nowhere to put the next one. Maybe that'll work. No, this is still too high. No, maybe it'll work. I don't know. Kind of frying my brain until I actually have enough to stack. I can't visualize it. Live streaming is a funny thing. Truth be told, if I had my way, I'd just probably not talk very much, but then you're not engaging your theoretical audience. So I tend to blab meaningless junk. I'm also very self-aware and transparent, so I even tell you that I do that. And I have even more to talk about. I can talk about talking about stuff. Fantastic content. I think I reached the limit of how many will stack unless I have shorter bolts. These take up way less space than my big book presses. Even if they don't stack perfectly, they can get quite a few stacked in a much smaller space. Probably the space of two of my bigger ones. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Much more efficient use of space, which I like. I got 5 more to pull out of the presses. I'm kind of wanting to get that done so I can sit down standing up because I kind of need to grab each book from my rack over there. I don't know when I'm going to get to my variety content. If you look at my about page, I call myself a variety streamer, but I have to be in a certain mood. This summer I would consider doing a bunch of IRL hiking streams, but my car's broken down, so can't really get anywhere. I went on a bike ride yesterday. I thought about getting my gear to stream that, but I didn't want to delay the ride. I was like on my way out the door and I thought, well, I could stream this, but I would have had to dig out my special clamps for my phone, for my bike and all that stuff. Think about lighting possibly, and microphone, and just all that junk. I didn't want to miss the chance to go on a ride that was kind of getting close to dinner time and all that jazz, so decided to skip it. So I think if I'm strategic in the way I stack these, I can keep going, but then it's almost like a Jenga tower. It's not as stable when it gets higher. I have to compromise by having a single point of connection on one of the layers in order to keep going. But I'll show you that in a minute. Might be possible to keep stacking them though. It's probably stable enough. In the end, I don't think the legs being taller than these bolts matters too much for the stacking, because they tend to be evened out by the ones on top of them, which is cool. I didn't really foresee that. So it's good that I actually did this stacking experiment, because I might have thought, oh, I absolutely have to have something here to be taller than these, but it's actually not important at all. It doesn't matter one bit. I'll demonstrate all of that in a minute. Not that anybody cares, but it's just kind of fun to share the thought process of a little invention or jig. I don't know how bikers overcome the butt hurt. Like, I bought a decent seat for my bike. It's better than the one it came with, but it still hurts. I don't think it's good for your body either. I read some things about it. It can, like, do some permanent nerve damage if you're, you know, sitting on a bike too long. But I think your body gets used to it. I used to bike a lot more often and I didn't have the pain anymore, but like if you don't ride during the winter or something and come back to it, it's like you have to go through all that again. It's kind of similar to getting the calluses for playing guitar. Like if you don't play for a long time, then you have to start from scratch and build up those calluses again. Very similar to the bike butt pain. It's not pleasant. I feel like there should be a solution for that, like a type of seat that doesn't hurt. But probably take quite a lot of gel or something really soft. Cool, I've reached a cycle of rotation in this stacking and it looks very stable. I think it's going to work. Even with the long bolts, it seems. Surprise, surprise. You never know until you try. The stack of the books, on the other hand, is very unstable. Very much like a badly played out Jenga game. On the verge of collapse. That's mainly because I put some smaller ones on. I put some bigger ones on top of smaller ones, so I need to just reorder it and it'll be fine. I should have named this stream Stacking Technology or Stacking Brainstorm, but you never know how a stream's going to go until you do it. You can have a plan or a agenda or something and then it just goes a whole nother way. Speaking of which, I have not tested what happens if you change the title of a stream, like in the middle of a stream, if it shows up or what. But I'm not going to rename this stream, but it's something that I did often on previous platforms. I wouldn't say often, but I did occasionally change the stream in the middle of a stream and it would just show up immediately once you change it. There's not really a dashboard that I know of on Glimish. I was on Glimish, and then before that I was on DLive. Oh, there goes my tower. My Jenga tower has fallen on the very last book. What do you know? Okay, let's restack these. Largest on the bottom. Like a pyramid. Doesn't have to be perfect, but... I think I interrupted a thought that I was talking about, and I don't know what it was. It wasn't important, whatever it was. Okay, there's my more stable stack of books, except that I missed one. I missed a label in there somewhere, so I gotta figure out where that was. With the very bottom one, of course. That's the way it goes. Second to bottom. I probably won't glue any of these because I'm going to glue the ones I started yesterday first, and then if I have time or I'm not wanting to go to sleep, I'll move on to this second group. But now I can sit down, which is what I was shooting for. But before I do that, I'm going to demonstrate my little stack technique. I could just pull it over here, but I'm going to start it over and see if I can come up with the same result. It's nicely stacked over there. So we got 2 on either side on the bottom, or I'll go this way so they don't fall off the edge of the table. And then we get 2 on the next layer. So as I mentioned before, these are tilty, so you think, oh, bad foundation, but because of the next group flattens those out, because it's a flat on a flat there. We got 2 there, and you think, oh, it's just like that for the whole thing, right? Nope. Because these bolts are in the way, so I can't put the next group here. Not going to work, so I have to either go in the middle or in the sides, and I think I chose the middle. So those go in the middle, and then I can put the next layer in between. It just keeps getting more complicated. And then the only place to put it now is in the center, because I can't put it out here because the bolts are in the way. So we got 1 in the center, and then 1 in the center again. And now I'm high enough to get past the bolts. So now I can go back to 2 on the sides. I have to make sure I have 2, otherwise it won't be balanced. It's not perfect though, it's a little bit unstable at this point, but it's pretty good. And that's when this cycle starts over, so now I'm back to 2 on either side. And there's probably a limit to how high this can go before it would start feeling unstable. And then I go back to 1 in the middle again, and then 1 again. So it's like 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1. It just keeps going like that. But that's pretty good. Very stable, and it doesn't take up that much space, so kind of cool. Glad it works. Watch, I'll dump it all over my feet. Probably not. Not the most stable thing ever, but it works. The other thing I guess I could do, not that it matters, I could try some stacking method where they're vertical like this. The problem with this is, unless these bolts are in this kind of in the center, it's just kind of hard to get. They kind of tend to want to fall this way because the bolts are kind of heavy. Put these together and then I could stack 2 this way. I think they would take up more space that way though. I think this is more efficient. Anyway. The brain processes of an awkward nerd. You get to see inside my weird brain today. that's not the half of it, of course. A lot more weirdness inside my brain that nobody really wants to know about, probably. We all have our strange attributes. Alright, am I even ready to glue? Do I even feel like doing this? Not really. I wish I could figure out a way to glue these without getting the glue in my hands and having to wash the brush out all the time. Actually, what would be ideal is if I had a little portable sink right next to my craft table here, then it would be a little bit less tedious. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. Since I'm kind of new here on Odysee, I'll just kind of explain that my streams are not meant to be like high production, scripted, big events or anything. I'm basically just doing stuff, doing my hobbies, and streaming it. Yeah, I do a lot more chit chat than I normally would if I was just sitting here, just kind of blabbering, but. And I sometimes go on those weird tangents that, like, I wouldn't have taken that long if I was just sitting here by myself to think out that process, because I wouldn't have to say it out loud. I would just try those little things that I was trying, but without all the pauses and whatnot. But so it's a little bit different than it would be if I was not in front of a camera and on my computer doing all the streaming stuff. But generally speaking, I'm just doing stuff that I want to do and turning my camera on. That's kind of my style of streaming. Not like a real serious streamer. Not trying to impress anybody. Barely even trying to entertain. Like, I don't really... I'm kind of self-aware and think, why would anybody watch this? But I've been told on other platforms that some people find it relaxing to watch what I'm doing, so I guess that's what I provide as a streamer. I would say it's educational streams, but so far I haven't really had many viewers that are interested in learning to do what I'm doing, so I don't really make a great effort to make them extremely structured, like a class or a tutorial. I just do my stuff. I try to, say a little bit about what I'm doing, just in case someone's interested, but that's why I think it would probably be better to do those shorter, edited tutorial things if I was trying to accomplish that, which I may do in the future, but Only if I feel like there's a... Well, I'd have to have time for it. Like, I don't really have time to do that at this point. Editing and scripting it all out, getting good camera angles and all that is a lot more work. And streaming, I don't have to do much prep. Just kind of turn the camera on and go for it. I just pulled from the wrong pile, so I did one of the ones that I was saying I was going to wait to do. It doesn't really matter. They're all needing to be done. Yeah, I'm not really like a guy that does things to try to meet a demand, to get more viewers. Like, if I was trying to get more viewers, this isn't what I would be doing, first of all. And if that was important to me, I would do it differently. But for me, it's got to be fun, not stressful. And it's got to be somewhat productive, too. Like, not to, say anything about anybody else that's streaming, but for me, I can't just sit and play games, It doesn't feel like a productive use of my time. The only thing that would make gaming productive is if I was hanging out with somebody. Then it would be a social activity and whatever, kind of like watching a movie with somebody. But I can't just sit in by myself and play a game. It actually kind of makes me feel depressed a little bit. But this stuff, even if nobody comes to my streams or chats or whatever, I'm still getting something done, and it's also something I enjoy, so those criteria are enough to keep me doing it. I used to be a gamer, like when I was younger, but I still play games, but it's primarily with friends. I have some friends from high school that I hang out with, typically once or twice a week. And that's kind of one of the main activities we do, is play old games. Sometimes new games, but usually retro stuff. Kind of a big nostalgia fest. Been friends for decades, so just joking around and then doing something that kind of brings back the memories of the good old days. Once you guys get old, you'll understand. You'll try to recreate some of those fun times, possibly. Or at least look back with fondness on those times that have good memories attached. That's why it's good to do things that create memories, you know? Like some things don't really produce a memory. Like, and I don't want to say, you know, universally or absolutely that certain activities are just a waste of time and not worth doing, but there's some that are more likely to create memories. Like watching a TV show, for example. You might remember it for a while, but unless you're doing something really fun with a friend while watching a show, like hanging out, having fun conversations or something, just watching a show in 10 or 20 years, you're not going to look back and think, oh, I'm sure glad I watched that TV show. That was such a good time. Not likely, but, you know, I don't know. It's different for each person. For me, some of the best times I've had are with other people, of course, and then, but also like hikes and trips, like traveling or just going to a new place. You kind of tend to remember those kind of events more than just your day-to-day. Well, I don't know. I feel like entertainment is not something that is memorable, except, you know, video games. I mean, the video games and movies definitely bring back memories. So you watch the same movie you did as a kid, and it brings nostalgia back. But it's, unless you have a really good photographic memory, it's probably not gonna. You're probably not gonna remember like what you were doing when you first watched it, or it might just be that kind of fond feeling of like, oh, I'm seeing something I haven't seen in a while, kind of a thing. But I don't know. I don't want my only memories to be of like consuming media though, you know? I want to go out and do things. Like, oh, I remember that time I was sitting on a couch watching a screen. I'd rather have a bigger world that surrounds me that I can draw memories from. But when you get old, well, if you don't treat yourself super well, healthy, like, not super healthy like me, kind of lose your memory. So I'm having a hard time even remembering much from my past. Just kind of vague memories. After this book, I'm gonna go clean my brush. I'm probably overdue. It's getting pretty messy, dried out. So whenever I know I'm about to go wash my brush in a little container here, I try not to put any more glue in there than I know I'm going to use. Otherwise, it'll be wasted because I'm just going to wash it off anyway. Sometimes use glue a drop at a time. Try to be conservative and make my supplies last. Probably should have some wax paper between these, because so this side is already glued, and I'm putting that onto the previous book, stacking them kind of back and forth. Problem is, even though they're dry, this glue can be a little bit tacky, and it could potentially stick to that marble paper and rip off little pieces if I'm not careful. So I want to be especially thoughtful and careful. I will put some of this wax paper in between each one. Here we go. Sometimes I forget those kind of things, and it's good to act on them when you remember, so you don't have regrets of ruined pages. Alright, so I'm going to take a break, wash this stuff off, and be right back and continue gluing. Got a bunch left to do. Oops. Wrong scene there. I kind of wish, OBS had grouped scenes, and maybe there's some plugin that allows you to do that. But when you have a ton of scenes, you start kind of looking the same, and it's easy to click on the wrong one. But if they had like kind of a hierarchy thing where you could expand and show and hide grouped things, then you can have all your scenes for one particular use grouped or nested into like an expanding tree view. Should be pretty cool. It'd be a lot easier to keep them organized. Make sure you don't click on the wrong stuff, and then if you could, expand and contract like a tree view, then you could just compact most of your scenes that you're not using and only expand out the one that you're actively going to use that stream. The other option is to, what do you call them? Is it profiles or scene groups? I don't know. Anyway, you can have like a separate profile for each content type, but I don't know. Guess that works too. I just haven't bothered to set it up that way. Can't remember the terminology for that. Let me check that real quick. Oh, scene collection. Yeah, you can set up a scene collection so you only have the scenes that you're going to use for that stream. Problem is, occasionally you surprise yourself and you decide, okay, I'm going to do something different, so you want to show a scene that you don't normally use. Like for example, I'm not using any kind of display capture on this, just cameras. But occasionally I might want to just suddenly switch to showing my screen, and then I would need to have that scene accessible, not in a different collection. So yeah, anyway. So away it goes. A stack of books over here is getting too high. It's not going to be stable if I put too much more on top of it. 5 a.m. past my bedtime. I don't really have a bedtime, but been going to bed around anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5, something like that. Not working today, but I'm going to work tomorrow, so my schedule will be very messed up for tomorrow. But that's just how it is all the time. Probably won't do those 12 or 14 books. Well, there's 13 now because I accidentally did one of them, but probably won't do those today. I'll just do these 12 that I had already done one side, just doing the second side, and I'll finish the rest of them another time. It's getting too late for me, but I think I will finish this group. Four more to go. 2 more to go. So I mentioned earlier in one of my other streams that you can unravel these linen tapes into individual threads, I guess, and then spread them out so that they don't leave an indentation on the other side of the paper when you glue these end sheets into your covers. But first of all, I don't really mind that texture showing through. It doesn't show up through that much, and part of the reason it doesn't show much is I purposely use thicker paper for my end sheets. If you use really thin paper, then every little texture is going to show through, but if I use thinner paper, I typically double ply it on this side of the fold. I leave it thin, it's fine, but I'll glue a second sheet of paper on this side of the marble paper that's going to be glued into the cover, and it serves more than one purpose actually. It covers up some of that texture so it's flatter usually. But it also makes it easier to glue. When you have really thin, flimsy paper, the glue tends to absorb through and make it all too flexible and flimsy. And it's really hard to glue those into the covers. So that's why I do the double plying, and probably I'll eventually end up doing some of that on stream when I'm starting new books. I'm already past that step on these books. Some of these, actually, I don't know if any of these had the double ply situation. These are probably just thick paper that I used when I was doing the paper marbling, but one of my favorite papers that I use for marbling is not thick enough, so I do have to do the double plying on those. It's one of my least favorite things to do. It's just kind of a chore of a task, but all of this is, could be considered like a chore, kind of repetitive, but I find it relaxing. There's a few steps that can be a little bit stressful because if you mess it up, the whole book can be messed up. But once you've done it enough times, you kind of get used to it and nothing's too stressful. Even the covers are probably the most stressful because it's the last step. If you don't get it lined up right, then it can seem like you ruined all the many hours of work that you put into it. But even that, even though it's the most stressful, I've done it enough times that I always have this sense that I could ruin it, but it never really happens, so I don't really get stressed anymore. I used to, that's for sure. I kind of dreaded doing it. Now I'm dreading it for a different reason. It's not really dread, it's more just I know I need to figure out the calculations of the measurements and everything because I'm doing a new technique. With the magnet closure flaps, and since I haven't figured all that out, I've been delaying it. But it's not really dread because I think I'll mess it up. It's more just laziness, really. I don't want to figure it out. I'll figure it out soon and start making covers because I want to finish some books. I have like 100 books here that, at least 80 probably, that are half done. About time I start finishing some books. This is some really thick watercolor paper, so it definitely doesn't need to be double plied. It's thick as it is. Also one of the best to use for marbling, honestly. It turns out really well. The acrylic paint sticks to the paper pretty nicely and produces clear results, so I really should just use this paper all the time when I'm marbling, probably, but I have a lot of this other thinner paper, and it actually produces really sharp edges on the prints on that thinner stuff, so still use it. Well, I shouldn't say I still use it because I haven't done marbling in years, but I would still use it. Maybe. The process of having to double ply the paper is probably enough to make me second guess whether I would use that thinner paper, because knowing that I'm going to have to double ply it later is like, I might actually change my habit because of that. So if I just use this watercolor paper for all my paper marbling, I would never have to double ply again. Just kind of depends on what I'm going to use the marble paper for. If I know I'm going to use it all in books, then it would make sense to use this thicker paper, but you can use it for other things too, obviously. But so far I haven't really done much of that. Or I could just sell the marble paper, and then it would be up to other people what kind of paper they would prefer, I guess. Whether thick or thin. I've never done make to order though. Like I've actually never sold my books, and even if I did, I don't think I'd want to do make to order, like have people order a book with specific cover material and design or whatever. I think that would be stressful for me. It wouldn't be as fun. I just kind of want to make my books and, you know, use the colors and things that I like, and if people like them, cool. If not, no big deal. Since I don't sell them and I just give them as gifts, you know, nobody's really going to complain. Or they'd be a real jerk if they did. It's like, here's your birthday present. Ah, it's not the color I like, or the shape or size that I like. Alright, so I'm done with those 14. Or is that right? I don't know. I think I did more than 14. 15 at least. So this stack of 12, or maybe I'm getting mixed up. Yeah, 14 is here. I did the 12. Whatever. Anyway, I actually did 13, so I did half. There's 26 total. So I have another 13 here to do on both sides. The ones I did today were doing the second side of the ones I already did. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. I think I'm going to head out. Getting pretty tired. Time to go to bed. So thanks for lurking. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe I help some of you go to sleep. That would be great. Now it's my turn to go to sleep. I will see y'all next time.